I bragged that once I left Luke, I'd never look back for the rest of my life. I didn't expect that the very next day I'd box up all his things and ship them off. I even tossed his treasured photo with his childhood sweetheart straight into the trash. When he ran over in the rain begging me to get back together, I couldn't even be bothered to hold an umbrella for him. But Jason has quietly watched over me for 10 whole years. Right now, he's standing in the rain, holding an umbrella, love surging in his eyes that he can't hide. I broke up with Luke. Everyone's waiting for me to crawl back and beg. The next day, I packed up everything about Luke and mailed it out without a second thought. Word is, Luke panicked. The night we broke up, it was pouring. I didn't have an umbrella. I called Luke and he didn't pick up. I came home soaked to the bone, only to get a WeChat from him. Turned out he'd gone to bring an umbrella to his little childhood sweetheart. How absurd. Rain ran down my cheeks and burst like flowers on the floor, just like my heart cracking open. I went into the bedroom. On the nightstand sat a photo of him and his childhood sweetheart, Jessica. In it, she nestled against him, smiling like a flower. I gave a bitter little laugh and set the frame face down. Jessica grew up with Luke like a kid sister. Whenever she asked, Luke always said yes. And me? In his buddy's words, I was a dispensable stand-in, a toy to kill time, a doormat in everyone's eyes. I didn't even bother drying off. I packed my suitcase in a hurry and called Luke. Jessica answered. Isabel, it's me. Luke got caught in the rain, and he's in the shower. She cooed, her voice grating. Good thing he got to me in time, or I'd have been the one drenched. Oh, by the way, Isabel, did you get rained on? The taunt couldn't have been more obvious. I couldn't be bothered to respond. I heard a door open on her end. Luke must have finished showering, so I said calmly, Put Luke on. Okay then, Luke. It's Isabel, she said. The moment I was sure he had the phone, before he could speak, I cut in. Luke, we're done. I hung up right after that, packed my things, and walked out of that gilded cage without a backward glance. Back at my old place, the rain had sapped my strength. I lay down, drifting in and out. Early the next morning, after I'd texted my whereabouts, my best friend Julia rushed over. Have you lost your mind? I heard in the group you broke up with Luke. Ha! News travels fast. Just how much of a doormat did she think I was? That leaving Luke could only happen if I was delirious. Yeah, delirious, I said. My whole body was weak, and burning up if that's not a fever, what is? Julia choked on that, then saw how pale I was. She reached out to touch my forehead and gasped. Isabel, you've got a fever. Lie down. I'll find you something to bring it down. Seeing her fuss over me, I managed a faint smile. It felt good to be cared for. After the meds, I slumped on the couch. My phone screen kept lighting up, ding after ding, the vibration constant. When I picked it up, it was still buzzing. It was the group chat with Luke's friends, the one I'd shamelessly insisted on joining back then. Hear the news. Isabel threw a tantrum, broke up, and ran off. Please, not the first time. She's probably trying to force a ring. Exactly. A small-town girl landing Luke is already a miracle. Let's start a pool. How long before she crawls back this time? I skimmed it. Some said a day, some said an hour. Someone even wrote that I was probably lying outside already. And the second Luke whistled, I'd come running like a pet. I typed one line. I bet a lifetime. Then I left the group cleanly and locked my screen. The fever meds knocked me out on the couch. When I woke again, it was dark. Julia hurried over, palm to my forehead. Finally broke. I made congee, it's warming on the stove. Hang on, I'll get you a bowl. The empty apartment didn't feel so cold with Julia in it. Hugging my knees on the couch, I let out a tired smile. The squeaky wheel gets the grease, but I've never been the squeaky wheel. Last winter, I was on a business trip out of town. I couldn't get a plane ticket, but I wanted to make it back for Luke's birthday, so I took a slow, old train for 5 hours. When I finally reached the restaurant, Jessica was smearing cake on Luke's face. Even with cream all over him, he just smiled at her, doting. I remember crystal clear that I'd once wanted to do the same thing. Luke refused without a second's hesitation, a hint of reproach in his eyes. "Isabel, you know I'm a neat freak." His drinking buddies just watched and snickered. "What are you spacing out for?" "Drink your congee," Julia said, shoving the bowl into my hands and snapping me out of it. Half a bowl later, warmth spread through me. Bored, she started scrolling her phone, then stumbled onto Jessica's moments and couldn't help cursing. No shame." She held the screen up to me. "Look at this fake angel." Jessica had posted a few bar photos. In them, she was in pajamas, a little drunk, cheeks flushed. Luke's arm was around her shoulders, the two of them close as any couple. The caption read, "The best kind of love is you always by my side, always spoiling me like a child." I knew they'd been together last night, maybe even very intimate. Yet aside from a little pinch of sourness, the gut-ripping pain I'd imagined never came. I even finished the whole bowl of congee. Heat finally returned to my body. Sweat beaded on my forehead. Julia got even angrier, scrolling to the comments from Luke's buddies under Jessica's post. "I'm furious, Isabel. That jerk Luke says you ran off this time just to force a proposal, and you'll end up crawling back like always." After a moment, I met her eyes and soothed her with a small smile. "Relax. I haven't lost my mind." Then I stood, went to the bedroom, and started packing up the things I'd brought back yesterday, along with all the stuff that came with this apartment. I have to admit, Luke doesn't just fill my memories. So many of my things are tied to him, too. In this 10-year one-way chase, I never once wavered. I fell for him at first sight in high school, worked for 3 years, and finally got into his university. I thought I'd keep pining forever, but in junior year, I actually became his girlfriend. I carried my love like something fragile, willing to be the gentle, considerate girl at his side. But that open-armed passion was never returned, only met with his chill and restraint, every single time. "Julia, I've packed everything. Help me call the postal service for a pickup." I was going to send every single thing related to Luke back to him. He said I was trying to pressure him into marriage? Sorry, he really overestimated himself. Monday morning, I put on my business suit and pencil skirt, slipped into heels, and did a light touch of makeup before heading to work. After graduation, I hadn't relied on Luke's connections. I'd gone through interviews myself and landed a job in the editing industry I loved. The elevator during rush hour was packed so tight it made me dizzy, maybe lingering effects from that fever. When I entered the office, my step faltered, and just when I thought I'd hit the floor, a strong arm caught me. "Careful." The man's voice was low and pleasant and strangely familiar. I immediately straightened up, but my heels slipped again. Pain shot through my ankle, and I gasped. "Twisted your ankle?" His brows furrowed. I looked up at that familiar, serious face, my lips tightening as my stomach dropped. Jason, one of Luke's friends. Unlike Luke's other useless drinking buddies, Luke actually respected him and never dared act up in front of him. Funny how things turn out after I joined this company. Jason invested and switched over from a foreign firm, becoming our department head. I had to admit, he had an eye for business. Profits had soared since he came aboard. I'm fine. Just thinking of those guys from Luke's friend group made me want no connection whatsoever. I stood, nearly losing my balance again, but Jason caught my shoulder just in time. "Still thinking about Luke?" he asked. His tone implied I was distracted and moody because of the breakup. I froze. Was this guy Luke's spy sent to mess with me? I met his gaze. "You're overthinking." What a hypocrite. He was probably in that same group chat. Maybe he'd even bet how many days before I'd crawl back. Then again, Jason never really talked in that chat. Even if he was the only decent one among them, I still didn't want any ties to Luke's circle. "Thanks for the help," I said, reaching for the office door only for Jason to grab my wrist, then gently steady me by the arm. "Let me walk you in." His insistence caught me off guard. I frowned, slipping my arm free and lowering my voice. "Jason, Luke and I broke up. Meaning, I'm not your buddy's girlfriend anymore. You don't need to be this. Whatever. Besides, people were coming and going around us. Jason was the company's golden bachelor. I didn't need rumors." "Yeah, I know. Finally came to your senses," he said, with a teasing smile that I'd never seen before. He wasn't someone who smiled often. And what did he mean by finally? Was he still Luke's friend, or was he toying with me now? At 10 a.m., when I walked into the meeting room, Jason looked up right at me. I frowned in confusion. Jason was head of marketing. He had nothing to do with editorial. His presence here was odd, but with looks like his, it was no wonder every female editor was blatantly staring. The editor-in-chief came in and began assigning the week's interview work. So I quickly took notes. "All right," the chief said, clapping his hands. "Our editorial team will fully cooperate with the marketing department." Jason stood up, his dark eyes flicking casually but unmistakably toward me. That heated gaze made me keep my head down, afraid he'd catch me looking and use it against me. "Thank you. Edited by Aaron," he said with a faint smile. The women around us collectively gasped in infatuation. "Isabel." He said my name slowly, playfully. I lifted my head, meeting those deep, glinting eyes. "There's a dinner tonight. You're coming with me," he added. My brain exploded on the spot. He had to be doing this to get back at me for Luke. That night at dinner, I sat beside Jason, uneasy, while the sound of clinking glasses filled the air. I kept trying to figure out his motive. He must be using this as an excuse to get me drunk, to humiliate me for Luke's sake. But to my surprise, every time someone tried to toast me, Jason stepped in to block it. And when another man, reeking of alcohol, leaned toward me, Jason shielded me with his body, forcing the guy to back off. By the end of the night, Jason had closed the ad deal for the next quarter meeting, the target ahead of schedule. Even I got to ride the wave, with my bonus doubled next month. My confusion only deepened. If this was his idea of messing with me, he was certainly creative. When the dinner wrapped up, I was ready to head home. But colleagues from the sales department stopped me, asking me to take care of Jason. He was the hero of the night. After all, with no choice, I called a driver. I'd planned to drop him off first, but he insisted on taking me home. He even pulled me into the back seat with him, half drunken, slumped comfortably beside me. He was tipsy. I, stone cold sober. 1,000 questions swirled in my mind, and when the car stopped outside my building, I couldn't hold back any longer. "Jason, if you're trying to stand up for Luke, just come at me directly. No need to butter me up first." I opened the car door, stepping out only for him to tug me back. "Here," he said, shoving a paper bag into my hand. I looked down. Inside was a bottle of medicated liniment. I blinked up at him in confusion. "Stop wearing heels," he murmured. "You're not short." Then he let go and closed his eyes again. I gripped the bag tightly, still baffled, and stepped out of the car. The next morning, to avoid the packed elevator, I arrived at work early. On my desk sat a brand new shoebox. Its label alone cost a month of my salary. I opened it. Inside was a pair of flats, exactly my size. I didn't need to guess who sent them. Clutching the box, I stormed into Jason's office. He was there. "Something wrong?" he asked calmly. Looking up, I slammed the box onto his desk. "Mr. Smith, I don't accept unearned favors. I was genuinely mad. Even if this is some prank, there should be a limit. What kind of mind game was this? Jason's tricks made Luke look amateur. I turned to leave, but Jason was faster. He caught my arm, pressed a hand to my shoulder, trapping me against him. Isabel, I'm not that childish. I turned my head, and his lips brushed my cheek, soft and warm. My heartbeat went wild. I shoved him away and bolted, panicked. Over the next month, I ran into Jason more and more often. He always found new excuses to bump into me at work. Even during Monday meetings, our team had gotten used to his presence. My desk regularly sprouted small gifts, every one of them from Jason. Every time I got one, I quietly tucked it into my drawer, no longer barging into his office like the last time. Jason. What on earth was he playing at? This strange, maddening feeling was about to drive me insane. That morning at work, my best friend Julia texted me again. Isabel, one of Luke's buddies, asked when you're going back. They're all about to lose the bet. I almost laughed, so it had already been a month since I left Luke. Turns out letting go wasn't as hard as I'd imagined. Yeah? Then tell them I've already won. A moment later, Julia sent a big exclamation mark. You've made me proud this time. Luke's whole gang is stunned. They never thought you'd actually hold out this long. Keep it up, girl. I believe in you. I chuckled to myself. Why was it so hard for them to believe I could truly leave Luke behind? I worked overtime that night, and when I finally looked up, it was dark. Rain was pouring outside. I stood at the entrance, waiting for it to stop. Guess I'd better start remembering to carry an umbrella. No point tripping over the same stone 3 times. The downpour grew heavier. Shivering, I rubbed my arms and waved at passing cars, but no one stopped. Just as I was thinking of offering extra fare or calling Julia, through the curtain of rain, I saw Jason walking toward me with an umbrella. His stride was steady, graceful, his gaze unreadable. His polished shoes splashed through puddles, yet somehow it felt like he was stepping straight across my heart. What was he doing here? Let me give you a ride. Jason tilted the umbrella over my head, angling it so I'd get less wet. But I'd had enough of his quiet, constant presence this whole month. Even if he was trying to get revenge for Luke, a month-long setup should have been plenty. I brushed his hand away. Jason, what are you trying to do? Be a man, stop playing this cat-and-mouse game. Jason gave a helpless little laugh, his deep voice warm above me. Isabel, haven't I made it obvious enough that I'm pursuing you? This time, I was the one completely dumbfounded. Jason was pursuing me? Had he lost his mind? My thoughts twisted into a tangled mess, but Jason didn't seem in any rush. Let's get you home first, he said. He took off his coat and wrapped it around me, holding the umbrella mostly over my head as he slipped an arm around my shoulders. No need, I protested, struggling, but it was useless. Be good, he murmured, pulling me closer and guiding me through the rain. He held me so firmly that I could only move where he led. Out of the corner of my eye, I saw his tense, handsome face. Because he'd given me most of the umbrella, half of Jason's body was soaked. And he didn't just drop me off at the building, he followed me upstairs. Once inside, he gently pushed me toward the couch and headed straight for the kitchen. Sit for a bit. I'll make you some ginger tea. You've got ginger here, right? Any brown sugar? I couldn't help glancing over. Peeling, chopping, boiling. His movements were smooth, practiced. Once, that used to be me doing these things for someone who never appreciated it. Come drink this. It'll drive out the chill. Jason brought over a porcelain bowl, blowing carefully on it. It was hard to believe someone as cool and aloof as him could handle a kitchen, and with such patience. His hair and half his shoulders were still wet. I shook my head, refusing instinctively. No need. I didn't really get wet, and I'm fine. He was the one who'd been drenched. Plus, I hated the taste of ginger, too spicy, too pungent. Jason caught the resistance in my eyes and chuckled softly, stirring the tea before lifting the spoon to my lips. Who was it that said last time her head was killing her after a fever? Come on, be good drink. I froze. I'd said that to Kyle from my team once. How did Jason even know that, let alone remember? His tone left no room for argument. I pinched my nose, frowned, and swallowed the ginger tea one spoonful at a time. By the time the bowl was empty, my body was warm and sweat dotted my forehead. Hand, Jason said suddenly, then slipped a sugar cube into my palm. Bitter medicine's best, followed by something sweet. His gaze softened, full of tenderness he couldn't hide. My palm burned. No one had ever cared for me like that before. The rain outside grew louder, tangling my thoughts into knots. After a pause, I decided to cut through the confusion. Jason, why are you pursuing me? His eyes darkened, lips pressing together for a moment, before he said quietly, "Because I like you." His voice was low, but steady and serious enough to leave no doubt. I instinctively wanted to reject him. I'd have to be insane to get involved with my ex's friend. Before I could speak, Jason stood up. You don't need to answer now. Let's just say I'm still in my probation period. Probation period? Who gave him permission for that? Maybe he saw my conflicted expression, because he reached out and ruffled my hair gently. I'll go. Take a hot shower and rest early. See you tomorrow. Then he left, rain still dripping from his umbrella. After my shower, I lay in bed, tossing and turning. Sleep wouldn't come. I opened my feed and scrolled. A few minutes ago, Jason had posted an update. Walked her home. The photo was of the same umbrella from earlier. For some reason, my chest tightened. Panic fluttered in me. Before I could make sense of it, I saw comments flooding in from Luke's old friends. Yo, whose girl are you walking home, huh? Nice one, Jason. Spill the tea, show us the lucky lady. Congrats, man. Finally someone tamed our cool-headed Jason. Then Luke commented, So thoughtful, huh? When do we all get to meet her? Meet your damn sister. Yeah, I still hadn't blocked Luke after the breakup. With his personality, our breakup had probably meant nothing to him anyway, so why give myself the satisfaction of making it dramatic? Jason didn't respond to anyone else, only replied to Luke. No need. I had to admit, that reply made me smirk, but that strange unease kept gnawing at me. Annoyed, I locked my phone and tossed it aside. Would this ever end? The next morning, just as I walked into the office, Luke's name flashed on my screen. Seeing that familiar yet foreign number, I felt nothing but confusion. I hung up instantly. Moments later, his call came again, and again. Finally, tired of the endless buzzing, I picked up just to end it. Isabel, how long are you planning to keep this up? The moment the line connected, his voice came harsh and accusing. Keep this up? I was so done with that word. For a lifetime, I said evenly. There was silence on his end. Then, for the first time, his tone softened. Jessica's just my little sister. You've always known that. Isabel, you used to be so sensible. Sensible? How blind must I have been to follow Luke around for 10 years and still call that sensible? I let out a laugh. Luke, you really do overestimate your charm. Late affection is cheaper than grass. We've already broken up. Don't make me block you. A proper ex should act like he's dead. Before he could say another word, I hung up without hesitation. Knowing Luke, that kind of rejection would probably infuriate him, but that was no longer my problem. His little sweetheart would comfort him. I returned to my desk and was just about to organize some files when Julia called again. Julia wasn't one to call unless it was urgent, so the moment I picked up, I heard her gushing. Did you see it? My dream guy, Jason. Looks like he's got a girlfriend now. He even walked her home in the rain last night. I'm so jealous. Ugh, he's so thoughtful. Jason was Julia's crush? Right, that did ring a bell. After she found out I was dating Luke, she'd always mocked Luke's scummy friends except Jason. She never stopped praising him. Apparently, he'd been a campus legend back in college. Though, honestly, maybe that was just the face talking. After she finished swooning over him, I said softly, "Julia, the person Jason's been pursuing is me." "What?" Julia's scream nearly burst my eardrum. "Isabel, can we still be friends?" She bombarded me with questions until I managed to escape by pretending to be busy with work. Once I finally hung up, I sighed in relief and turned back toward my desk, only to see Jason standing there, smiling, a cup of coffee in his hand. Oh no, how much had he heard? Jason's lips curved into a wicked grin. "Didn't expect your bestie to be on my side." "What?" He paused, then added, "Guess I'll keep working hard." And he really did. Jason kept right on pursuing me. He was good at taking care of people, at least. Good at taking care of me. Every morning, there'd be a steaming breakfast waiting on my desk. In the afternoons, a cup of coffee he'd made himself. And no matter how late I worked, Jason was always there to walk me home. On weekends, he'd come up with every excuse imaginable to ask me out and make me laugh. My life was saturated with him everywhere, inescapable. Yet Jason never once mentioned making me his girlfriend. Like a frog in slowly boiling water, I was restless and anxious, day by day. Sure enough, that morning another bowl of hot congee sat on my desk, century egg and lean pork, with my favorite side dishes and a boiled egg. Beneath it was a small note, day 28 of the probation period. I folded it and tucked it into the book where I kept the others. The drawer's bottom now held 28 notes, a neat little stack. Jason's mind ran deep. I couldn't read it, but I knew one thing. He was Luke's friend. He was someone I shouldn't touch. "Isabel, stop eating. There's a last-minute interview cars waiting outside." The editor-in-chief hurried over, knocking on my desk. "Got it. On my way." I quickly packed up the breakfast, slung my bag over my shoulder, and headed out. Jason was waiting at the door. When he saw me, he lifted his hand slightly. "Come on." I frowned in confusion. "You're coming with me to the interview?" He opened the car door. "The interviewee happens to be a friend of mine, Larry." Figures. With Jason's help, what I'd been so nervous about ended up going perfectly. Both sides were happy. As we were leaving, Larry shook my hand. "Miss Isabel, next time bring Jason to visit my studio, yeah?" "Sure, I'd love to." Then he lightly punched Jason's shoulder. "You brat, hurry up and win her over. I'm waiting for my wedding invite." Jason rubbed his shoulder, glanced at me with a long, knowing look, then smiled. "Got it. I'll make it happen." My face went hot, and I quickly looked down. Once we were in the car, I focused on the papers in my hands, thinking I'd go back to the office and start a draft. But when I looked up, I realized we weren't heading back. "Where are we going?" I asked. "On a date," Jason said with a grin. "Who agreed to that?" "I helped you finish your interview early. The least you can do is have a date with me," he reasoned smoothly, leaving me speechless. I didn't expect the date to be at Giauda, my old university. The campus was quiet as we walked around the track. Seeing all those places that held my youth made me smile wistfully. Just as I turned to say something to Jason, I caught him pointing his phone at me. I quickly stepped up and snatched it from his hand. On the screen was a girl in a short-sleeved blazer and matching skirt. Slim waist, fair skin, a touch of elegance in her posture. Honestly, his photography was impressive. "Jason, I'm confiscating this photo," I said. turning to send it to myself before deleting it. That's when I realized how close he was. Close enough that I could smell the faint, clean scent of him around me. I'd leaned in without realizing it. Heat crept up my cheeks. Forget the picture, I jumped back and tossed the phone to him like it was on fire. By the way, what school did you graduate from? Julia had called him a straight-A genius. Jason seemed surprised by the question, but answered lightly. Luke and I went to the same university. My heart skipped a beat, just as he added, actually, the first time I ever saw you was right here, on this track. I froze. Back then, my eyes had only ever seen Luke. Everyone else had been a blur. I was playing basketball that day, Jason said. It was cold, and it suddenly started raining. You were dressed thinly, holding a breakfast box. Even when it poured, you didn't leave. You were clearly waiting for someone. Later, when I ran for cover, my ball accidentally hit you. You hugged that breakfast and started crying. I panicked and wanted to take you to the infirmary. But you asked if I'd eaten and handed the breakfast to me. Jason's lips pressed together. I found out later you'd been waiting for Luke. And later, when I finally wanted to chase a girl seriously, she'd already become my buddy's girlfriend. Yes, that day, I'd been waiting for Luke. His stomach was weak, and he often skipped breakfast. I'd made a habit of bringing it to him every morning. The night before, he'd stayed up gaming. I'd called him over and over that morning, but his phone was off. I could only wait along his route to class. It wasn't until that evening that he finally texted back. Overslept. Not even a single sorry. Now I finally realized that Jason might have liked me for a long time. He smiled softly, brushed a hand over my hair, and continued in his calm, gentle tone. I read every article you ever wrote. Every club event you joined, I was there too. You just never noticed me. I had never imagined that during those years when I was blindly in love with Luke, someone else had been quietly watching over me. In the sunlight, Jason's eyes were dark and deep, his features sharp, lips vivid, gaze steady and sincere. Looking at him, a single thought crossed my mind, oh no. Jason leaned toward me slowly. I shut my eyes in nervous reflex, but instead of a kiss, he simply pulled me into his arms. Thank you, Isabel. I froze. His voice was low, deliberate, and full of feeling. Thank you for existing, and for finally opening your eyes in time, so I could have the chance to pursue you openly. On the way back, I posted a photo on my feed, a sunlit corner of the campus, with a caption, perfect sunlight, gentle breeze, everything just right. A few minutes later, Julia sent a message. You two are disgustingly sweet. Then I checked Jason's feed. It was a photo of my back, with the caption, I'll wait for you to turn around. My nose stung. Tears nearly fell. Maybe fate really had left me a window named Jason. He had to return to the office for something urgent, but he still drove me home first. I waved goodbye to him, slung my bag over my shoulder, and walked toward my apartment in good spirits. But as soon as I stepped out of the elevator, someone grabbed my arm hard and shoved me against the cold wall. It was Luke. He looked tired, a little haggard, his eyes filled with emotions I'd never seen before, but I couldn't be bothered to read them. Isabel, what's going on between you and Jason? What? I steadied my breath. Luke, shouldn't you be with your little sweetheart? What are you doing here annoying me? Since when did he care what I did? My words set him off. He pulled out his phone, opened Jason's post, and jabbed at my silhouette in the photo, gritting out each word. You think I don't recognize you? Why were you at the university with Jason? Is Jason chasing you? Are you two together now? Isabel, this time you've gone too far. Gone too far? I stared at his angry face, feeling absolutely nothing. Only one thought flashed through my mind. None of your damn business. Luke, did you hit your head? We broke up. Who I go anywhere with has nothing to do with you." Hearing me repeat it made his face twist in anger. I took the chance to shove him aside and walked past him. "Isabel!" His voice echoed down the empty hallway. "You're with Jason to get back at me, aren't you?" I laughed inwardly, as if I'd ever stoop so low as to use myself for revenge on a jerk. "Don't flatter yourself, Luke. You're not worth it." I didn't even look back, ignoring the sound of him kicking the wall in frustration. The next morning was Saturday. I'd slept like a baby, only to wake up to Julia's flood of messages. She sent a string of laughing emojis and a giant grin. "Isabel! The fake little angel finally lost her halo. Heard Luke got wasted last night, and no matter how hard Jessica tried, she couldn't calm him down. He kept calling your name all night." Jessica's face turned green with rage. "Serves that jerk right, huh? Too late for regrets now." Message after message, Julia was gleeful. I, on the other hand, was calm. Whatever happened to Luke had nothing to do with me anymore. Day 45 of the probation period. Looking at Jason's latest note, I couldn't help but feel like the water was boiling and this frog was past saving. But honestly, I didn't mind being the frog in his pot. It wasn't such a bad feeling. "Remember to bring an umbrella. I've got a dinner meeting tonight," Jason texted that morning. Warmth filled my chest. Okay. By the time I got off work, it was raining hard. Beside me, Kyle, 7 months pregnant, held her belly and groaned. "Oh no, I forgot my umbrella." "I've got one. Take it." I handed it over without hesitation. After a while, the rain only grew heavier. Thunder rolling across the sky. Rain and I just didn't get along. As I was debating whether to call a ride, a figure appeared through the dim light, walking toward me with an umbrella. My heart lifted. Jason! But when I saw his face, my smile froze. It was Luke. He'd heard me say Jason's name. That much was obvious from his expression. He took a step closer, holding the umbrella over me. "Isabel, you don't have an umbrella." "I'll take you home." He paused, then added, "From now on, I'll pick you up every time it rains." I just didn't know how to balance things between you and Jessica. She's only ever been a sister to me. You're the one who really matters. I've told her everything. I can't lose you, Isabel. I've gotten used to having you by my side. His eyes glistened with tears, and I believed he meant every word. But I didn't need that anymore. Seeing how worked up he was, I stepped back. "No, thanks. I'll call a cab. Let me take you." When I tried to walk away, he blocked my path. "Luke, calm down." My voice was icy. "You can't not love me," he shouted, throwing the umbrella aside and grabbing my arm, trying to pull me against him. "Get off!" Just as I raised my hand to slap some sense into him, Jason suddenly appeared out of nowhere. He punched Luke square in the face and pulled me into his arms. Luke stumbled back several steps before catching himself, wiping the blood from his mouth. He glared at Jason. "Jason, Isabel is mine." Jason sneered. "You already lost her." Then he swung again. Another punch, straight to Luke's face. Luke's expression darkened as he clung to the railing for balance. This was still our company building, and Jason was a shareholder, so the scene wasn't exactly great publicity. I quickly grabbed Jason's hand. "That's enough. Let's go home." "I want your ginger tea." Jason chuckled, slipped an arm around my shoulders, and said, "Okay." As for Luke, we didn't even spare him a glance. Back home, I rushed into the bathroom, grabbed a fresh towel, and started drying Jason's hair. He was as docile as a golden retriever, nothing like the fierce man from minutes ago. "Didn't you have work? Why'd you come for me?" Jason tugged the towel down over my head and gently rubbed my hair. "The rain was too heavy. I got worried when you didn't answer my calls, so I left early to find you." So the company's shareholder had actually ditched work. He really didn't take his job too seriously, huh? Then again, I suddenly remembered he'd been doing fine at his old firm before investing in this company right after I joined. Thinking back, it was obvious he'd come here for me. Warmth spread in my chest as I looked up into his eyes. His dark pupils reflected nothing but me. It felt wonderful. The rain outside grew heavier. Jason moved into the kitchen and started making ginger tea. This time, the smell didn't seem spicy or sharp, it was sweet and comforting. So, this is what it felt like to be loved. Like soaking in honey every day. Without Jason having to coax me. I finished the whole bowl. When I was done, he popped a candy into my mouth. "Sweet?" he asked. I nodded hard, smiling even sweeter. The rain poured harder. Just as Jason was about to leave, I hesitated, blushing, and mumbled, "It's raining too much. You, shouldn't go tonight." Jason froze, his face turning red before he nodded deeply. "Okay." "Isabel." His voice came out husky. "What?" My throat was dry. "How's the ginger tea?" he asked out of nowhere. "It's good," I said honestly. "Let me try," he murmured. And then he kissed me. His kiss stole my breath, like a devil drawing out my soul. He wasn't tasting ginger tea, he was tasting me. The next morning, when I came out after washing up, breakfast was already on the table, my favorites. And Jason sat there grinning like a troublemaker. "Come, eat," he called. I sat down, noticing a note under the bowl. Pulling it out, I read, "Isabel, have I passed my probation period?" I looked up to meet his hopeful eyes and nodded. His smile widened, even brighter. Then he handed me another note. "Here." I opened it. Day 1 of the official relationship. I laughed out loud. Jason leaned over and kissed me. "Good morning, girlfriend." "Good morning, boyfriend." I kissed him back, smiling. That evening, as I watched TV on the couch, my phone kept chiming with payment alerts. Curious. I checked and saw that Luke's group of friends were all sending me red envelopes. Puzzled, I opened Jason's feed. "A bet's a bet. Time to pay up, don't make me come collect from you in person." He'd tagged the same guys who once bet against me in that group chat. I glanced through the comments and spotted Jessica's snide reply. "Congrats to Jason and his wife. May you love each other forever." Jason had replied with just one line. "Don't call me brother. I don't need a little sweetheart." I smiled. So this was what real security felt like.